Welcome back to Inspired Artist Podcast with me, Porter Singer, and I have a really special offering for y'all today. I'm going to be having a conversation with my longtime friend, musical collaborator, whom you may know as Darshan Singh. We created the music within together in 2011, and often we are asked, what is that person singing at the end? So I believe that we answer that in here, but just to get the record straight, and you can still email me about it and send me messages on Facebook if you don't hear this, but what's being sung at the end of Bliss, I Am the Light of My Soul, is ANAND SAHIB, and I will put the information in the show notes once and for all. And it is the first couple of verses. ANAND SAHIB stands for Song of Bliss. So that is why I included it in that song and why we sing it at the end, or it is sung at the end. So not to be too mysterious, but Darshan Singh is now Soshana. She is going as Soshana. Shangold has been through a transition, and as we all have. And I think this is sort of a beautiful illustration of how everyone is finding their own truth and their own way after, a few things happened within our community. And we sort of had to decide where our heart lay. And we are all doing that in different ways. Me and Darshan are, like I said, longtime friends. So there's going to be a lot of silliness and a lot of jokes that possibly are only funny to us, but we shall see. Please let me know what you thought of the episode. Please leave feedback on Apple Podcasts if you can. Leave a review. We really, really appreciate that. Helps tremendously to spread the word about the podcast, and especially just share the offerings that my guests have, because that's really why I do this. I like to share what everyone is doing, and also selfishly like to have conversations with them. All right, well, without further ado, here we go. Let's talk to Soshana. You look like you're in an abyss. It's great.
Like, I got my Christmas tree up. You can still kind of see.
I can't see that. When I moved in with Juan, he called it his perennial Christmas tree.
I wish I could call it that, but it's about as fake as they come.
It was also fake. Yeah, it was a joke.
It's perennial. I like
it.
We
keep it up till Easter. That's as far as we go.
Oh yeah, I might as well just keep it up for this Christmas.
It seems like that's probably your best bet at this point.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that could have been the beginning, honestly. That was a cute start. Is there a dog behind you?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw the blur move, so it seemed like there was a dog.
I mean, there are dogs.
There are dogs.
And so probably, maybe.
Okay. Well.
Do you edit these at all?
We don't have to start yet.
I
was just sort of waiting.
No, totally. Whatever. I mean,
I don't usually. No, I
That's
don't
fine.
usually. I have there was one guest who told me something and then later revealed to me that she had a stalker, and so I should take out the location piece that she gave me.
Oh God.
I know, it's not funny. It's just awkward. So I had to do that, and then I did have, who was it? It was so cute. Ben Lineback.
Mm-mm.
He's a producer, so this won't surprise you. He wanted me to send him the audio so he could edit it.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Yeah.
Oh, I did. I told you that before.
You did, but it's a funny story. That was off the record before.
I feel like I'm like an old person now. I'm telling my stories again, collecting my stories, so I can tell them. Yeah, keep them in my purse. Yeah. So you went. You had to put children down for this, so thank you.
Yeah.
I suppose you would have anyway put them to sleep, but
it's all over the place. I think last night they got to sleep much earlier than they did tonight. But both evenings we had to do a lot of running around. So it's just like in the ideal world, like, I pick them up from school, we'd come home, we'd have like a simple family dinner, and then I put them to bed. But the time that I have in the evening to spend with my children is often also the time that I have to like do errands. So
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's cool. You guys have a cool like schedule. Do you still do that like three, two, what was it? It's like
yeah,
three and
two, two,
three,
three.
two, two, three.
Yeah, since the
Okay.
week is an odd number of days, you split it up over 2 weeks. And so I always have, well, it used to completely rotate. So it would be like one parent would do Monday, Tuesday, and then the other parent would do Wednesday, Thursday, and then the first parent would do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it would swap.
Right.
So the second parent would do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the first parent would then do Monday, Tuesday, and then that way you would always have the kids 2 days a week, and then sometimes you would have them three for the to make seven, and sometimes you would have them two. But now we're doing the same thing basically, except I always have them Wednesday, Thursday, and she always has them Monday, Tuesday, and then the weekend still
Oh,
swap. The
oh,
Friday, Saturday,
that's,
Sunday still
yeah.
swaps.
Okay. So you've adjusted it to make it work for you. Good.
Yeah, yeah. She had like specific things she needed to be able to schedule weekly that would be easier if she
Yeah.
could always not have the kids on certain days.
Right, right.
Um, I don't know. We may look into adjusting that again. The Friday in Albuquerque is the is always the best night at the best venue to do karaoke, and it's rare that me and the band ever get to go do that to begin with, and I'm never available because I always have the kids on Friday. So wait, is that true?
No, you just said Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
No, you're right. Sorry. It's Thursday.
Oh,
Thursday's the
okay.
best day.
Okay.
Friday is the second best day, but we always have practice on Friday
Okay.
or people have other plans. So yeah, Thursday is the best one.
You like karaoke?
I do.
Huh. I did not know that about you. Is
Do
that a
you
new
like
thing?
karaoke? I've
I
always enjoyed singing karaoke.
no, it maybe I need a perspective shift on it, but to me I was like it's like asking a lawyer to like play pretend law. Like it's like I already do this. I like why am I pretending that I do that? This I don't know, that's what it feels like when I do karaoke. It's like, yeah,
Oh,
let's all pretend to be performers, but oh wait, but I am.
oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, I don't think about it like that at all. It's just
It's
it's fun.
probably for the best. It's
I
probably more
mean,
fun.
I don't know. To me, it is a real performance with like super low stakes.
That's a great perspective. I'll
Yeah.
borrow that. Real performance with super low stakes.
Yeah. Like a
I have
great
to
way to
start
like
taking notes
sort of
now.
for sure, like a great way to practice your stage presence. And I mean, and I'm in like a rock pop band, and so we do covers. So if there's like covers that we're thinking about doing, a great way to sort of try them out is karaoke.
Yeah, that makes sense. Super low stakes. I like to take notes because I like to make something that you said be the title. So,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
For- there you
That's
go. You
not
can
necessarily what I'll use, but
no,
I
sure, but
just write. I just
it's a good option. You can have it on the list.
write.
Tagline: performance with super low stakes.
Yes, performance is super low stakes. Absolutely. I mean, speaking of which, Kirtan was a performance with super low stakes.
Oh, absolutely.
So
That's
I guess yeah, you you recognize them when you see them or when you play them.
Kieran or just
Well,
the
like
low
I don't know,
stakes.
like you're used to a certain like sort of low key performance style, and then you find karaoke. Oh, this is similar to in a very different, but also similar in the fact that everybody's here to have a good time, kind of
For sure.
thing.
Yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. There's just certain pop songs that are just super fun, and to be able to kind of experience them in a different way is something I think I've always enjoyed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I
Well,
remember Sorry, go ahead.
No, this is you were about to say something. Let's.
I remember. I mean, ages ago when I was staying at your parents' house, we connected over a love of musical theater, and I feel like that's somehow a parallel
Mm,
interest.
yes. Yes. Remind me what we listened to?
Oh, I don't know. We watched Rent one night.
Oh, we
Um,
did. That was that when the movie came out, or was
oh, I think it was way after.
it was way okay.
Yeah, you it was. I think it was one that you had known that you liked, and we watched it
Yeah.
with your parents.
Yeah. Yeah, fun times. Yeah. I tried to do the intro before this. I'm not sure if I'll use it. We'll see. But um I usually do it afterwards, but I'm trying to get ready for a trip and I find that if I leave the intro, then I end up like kind of uh being sluggish about releasing the episode. So
Mm.
try to do it, but one of the things that I said was the I don't know if you go through the internet sort of sometimes and look at because our video has been posted by of Bliss has been posted by various people. It's not just on my. In fact, I think one of the first people to post it was I don't know who it is, but they have like um, several million views at this point. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
like tens of millions, isn't it?
yeah, it's a pretty yeah, it might be in the hundreds. I don't know. I'm exaggerating. I actually don't know, but it's a big number. Um, but I sometimes I'll look through the comments because I'm just curious. Sometimes if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, oh, what I do is not for nothing. But but it's like everybody asks the same question about that song, and I feel like I just want to put everyone out of their misery. Like the thing that you sing at the end is ANAND
Yeah,
SAHIB.
yeah. And I mean, I always felt like my singing of ANAND SAHIB could have been articulated better, or a better mic could have been used.
Well,
I don't
I
know.
don't
I
know
feel
that
like
that's the issue. I don't
no,
know
I
if they're
know
like,
for sure.
I
It's
would
like
know what this was if
I
you would just
right,
enunciate.
yeah. If the consonants were a little bit clearer, I would have recognized it so much easier.
My mom used to read this to me. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I
but
would.
you listen to that and you're like, I didn't enunciate.
No, I think it was the mic. I feel like
Hmm.
we had like mic drama, and we ended up
Oh
using
my
a mic
God.
that was not the ideal vocal mic,
Okay,
and
I'm just laughing because I don't remember exactly what the what the situation was. Maybe you do, but I remember getting very upset with you on a subway about because you didn't tell me something about the mic. Was that what it was?
uh, I remember you getting upset with me on the subway. I remember it vividly.
Like I
I'm
remember the
happy to
pain, but I
rehash that
don't
for you.
remember.
No, you were the unless there was a different time you were upset with me on the subway, but we were on our way
Your storage
to the
unit, right?
no the mic.
No.
No,
Okay.
we were on our okay. The time that I remember is we were on our way to Pulse
Oh, we couldn't
Studio.
have been on the way to the storage unit because we drove. Okay, so we were on a subway. We
We were
were
on
on
on a subway on the way to Pulse Studio, and I think
right.
I had okay, so maybe I don't remember it as clear as I thought, but I had gotten the address wrong, I think, and we went to like the wrong place. And there was something that I didn't give you all the information about. I don't know if it was the address or what it was, but that's the instance that I remember you being upset with me.
Didn't but there was something where like you didn't have the mic that we were supposed to use, or you lost it or lent it to somebody because we had to get
No,
another mic at some point. No.
the mic that we had been using was a mic that I owned that stopped working.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and we ended up borrowing one of my like engineer mentors basically from when I interned at the studio. We ended up borrowing one of his Neumann TLM 103s, I think, which was an amazing thing that he did for us to lend us that mic. It's like a like several $1,000 vocal mic, but he said he never used it. It was like in perfect condition, and we of course took
Oh,
extra good care of it, and that did end up. I think that did end up recording your vocal on most of the songs.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's funny. There were there were so many. How can I put this? there were so many like opportunities, I think, to get closer to you in our bickering. That's how I remember it.
That is a
Like,
great perspective.
I mean, because it doesn't feel like I certainly didn't leave that situation being like, oh God, that jerk. Like I wasn't like, it wasn't like that, but it was like, it was almost hilarious in retrospect, the things that we fought
No, we were
about.
we were absolutely like siblings that were
Yeah.
trying to collaborate on something, and just like it got to the point where we knew too much about each other. Like we knew exactly what each other's like sore spots were,
Mm.
and didn't always know how to like be sensitive to them, or weren't, I don't know, weren't willing to, or whatever it might have been. It was like, yeah, but we definitely like had a very close relationship that didn't always manifest in the best in communication.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, that was, I don't know, that I still look back on that as like a fun time. And
Oh, absolutely.
you you had wanted to eat kitchery the whole time to save money, I remember, right?
God.
But
Um,
that was my first time trying to do that actually. But
yeah, I don't know that it was like, yes, I wanted to have kitchery as a staple fallback food that not wasn't necessarily something we ate like exclusively,
yeah.
but something that we could always have available, so that we always had like sustainable, like sustaining food that was inexpensive.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, you had a little bit of an income at the
No.
time. I had none whatsoever.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so there was definitely some uh financial drama that we had to weather, and I think we did ended up doing okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was definitely a time in my life where I was like figuring out what I was I mean, what I could do that would be lucrative, and I hadn't quite hit on it yet. I mean, I was trying to be like a professional sound engineer in New York City. And I was like exclusively like my the only income I was getting was doing sound for kirtans, basically,
Mm.
either at an actually, it's interesting. I started to get a lot more work in that realm after we did the album. Like I ended up getting hired as Integral's like main sound person, and I was booking all of their shows for a while. Um,
Um,
and then there was this other yoga studio, Yoga Maya, in New York. I don't even remember how I got connected with them, but they ended up hiring me really often to do kirtans there, which was great. That was such a sweet space, and I met a lot of great people that way. Bryn from Yoga Maya, I still follow her on Instagram. She's like real deal, like authentic, just like heart centered, like Hatha or Ashtanga or whatever,
huh.
yoga teacher in New York City. But yeah, at the time, like I had not cracked that egg as much as I ended up being able to do a little bit later in my time in New
Yeah.
York.
You had such a nice kind of safety net in terms of people, like that. I mean, you must have been aware of that, but I'm
Oh,
not sure
absolutely.
how, like, you've never not had that. So, how, like, do you know what I mean? It's like when you have loving parents and you kind of don't know to appreciate it, sort of.
Oh,
Does
absolutely.
it feel like
No, this
that?
is like, it definitely feels like that. No, I mean, I've always felt like, this is actually, I mean, definitely to a fault. Like I've always felt like I could just take risks that were maybe ill advised, because somebody would have end up having my back, and usually, often at the last minute, somebody showed up and would have my back. um, yeah, and that was often my parents when I was younger. So I mean, it's an interesting insight. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, I, it's a little bit of I don't know if this is the right. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit of a cross that I bear. I feel like I did grow up with a lot of privilege, for better or worse, um, and like felt like I could kind of get away with doing whatever I wanted, and people would would help me out when I took a misstep.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's, nothing to feel guilty about in having like a nice. Oh, do you need to
Oh, he's
handle
fine.
something?
He just,
No.
I thought I did, but he just needed to go to the bathroom.
Um, Yeah, it's just nothing like there's nothing to apologize for, right? It's just kind of the fact of, I mean, it's kind of the wonderful fact, but also like, it wasn't all rainbows. I'm definitely not suggesting that, but
No.
yeah.
Well,
But to
yeah.
my eyes, when I met you, it was like, wow, you know a lot of people in New York. There's a lot of, like we needed to stay somewhere. We had somewhere to stay. We were going to people's potlucks and
Yeah.
um
I mean,
yeah.
I benefited from a lot of community surrounding like Kundalini yoga and Sikhism that was already in place in New York that I was able to tap into pretty easily when I went there. And I mean, I also had the benefit of being somebody who had gone to school in India and had experiences directly of spirituality in India that I think a lot of people either craved or like looked up to or felt like was something that I could share and just bring to I guess the community. Yeah, so there's a lot of, yeah. I mean, well, it's interesting too. Sut Kidden had been trying to build a lot of that community as well, and so I met a lot of people through her. Um, and anyway,
Yeah.
rambling a little bit, but yeah,
Yeah. I met a
there was
lot of
definitely,
people.
it was easy to sort of to as somebody who had any level of like, I don't know, outgoing personality and charisma could easily tap into that, I suppose. I don't know. Maybe I'm selling myself short. Um, and I mean, I suppose I've always been the kind of person that like always like looked for people that would be interesting to collaborate with or would be like a good friend or like somebody I wanted to hang out with, like Joshua Chaplin, for instance.
Hmm.
Um, like when we met, I guess
But who
I
played
hadn't.
the iconic electric guitar on that track, by the
Uh,
way?
yeah, exactly. Yes, thank you for the context. um, yes, Joshua Chaplin, who helped us craft that album so beautifully with his beautiful guitar tones,
Yeah.
um, was one of the people that I interned at the recording studio with, and there was so many amazing musicians that were also interning or worked at the studio, and I had just recently started to
Was
lead.
it wasn't the studio that we went to. That wasn't the same studio that you were working on,
No,
right?
the
No.
studio that we went to, what's
That
her
was because
name?
she played cello, right? She was a Kundalini
She
yogi.
played cello. It's funny. I spoke with her
Yeah.
recently. God, I'm drawing a blank. Shoot. Uh, anyway, it'll come back to me.
Yeah. Fun fact, we almost recorded the vocals there.
Well, we
I
did
mean, we
record.
did. We recorded, but we
Yeah, I
redid
mean,
it.
we did end up redoing it, just because I think we just it was a stressful environment and we didn't have a lot of time, and for what we were the way that the style that we were already recording, just it was a lot more conducive to sort of take our time and be able to try stuff and not feel like we had to get it done in two
Mm.
hours.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's true. Yeah. Sorry, but you were talking about the studio that you were working at with
yeah,
Josh. I was just asking if, yeah.
Josh was one of like four people that were amazing guitarists, and I was trying to find somebody who wanted to come play guitar with me when I led live sadhana at Golden Bridge.
Which is not an easy bill to fill when you ask your non-Kundalini yoga musician friends if they'd like to wake up at 3:30. So
Yeah,
kudos to him.
kudos to Josh for like, no, I mean that was always his personality. He's like, yeah, I'm down for that. That sounds like a interesting thing that I'd
Right.
like to experience at least once. And then he kept coming back and ended up being like,
Always wanted to know what it was like to be an on-call nurse as a guitarist.
yeah, I mean there were plenty. I mean he had a baby right around the same time
Mm,
that we were recording that album too.
yeah.
So like he definitely
And
had.
he was the main caregiver.
He was.
We
I
did
mean,
a
not
lot of rehearsals with
we did, yeah.
Elliot.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
Elliot, yeah. With
Yeah.
Elliot. Yeah, Elliot, who would be, gosh, he's 3 years older than my son,
We were
which
like
would make him,
14,
well, no, my son's
13,
9.
13.
Yeah, 13. Or yeah, 12 or 13. I mean, oh, he'd be 12. He'd be 12. So he's like just a little bit older
Yeah.
than Sodden in the City.
Ah, that's so crazy. So he's only 2 years older than my youngest, which means that from the time that I met that baby, I was only 2 years away from wow. But I didn't
Yeah,
know that then.
that was a very wild time. I
It
mean,
did not seem, and I did not seem very close to getting married or having children at that point. Yeah.
no, I mean, neither did I for that matter. And I mean,
Yeah.
you did it before I did, but I was right behind you.
Yeah. Simultaneous almost.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we met our the parent of our children. I think you met Heidi Munder a little bit earlier. Although, no, that's not true. Actually, I knew Jessica then Fote Paul. I had known her for a year um, before her and I ended up getting together. And had you met Heidi Munder before?
I met him at the 2010 summer solstice.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's when you and I met as well, I think. Because
Yes.
that's the year that Sodden in the City came out.
Yeah. Yeah. We were trying to piece that together. So we met at summer solstice 2010 on the sound team. That's also where I met my soon to be husband. Didn't know it. Didn't know I was meeting you to make an album with you either, actually. Um, but you played Sadhana one morning with your Kirtan caravan, and I was super impressed. And I was super impressed by just I don't know. It's a major thing going to a solstice because you're sort of infiltrating like this huge network of people. I mean,
Yeah,
like that have so much history, um, so much more than I realized at the time. So many
yeah,
more layers than I was aware of. But it felt very bright and shiny and sweet for the most part. Felt a
yeah,
little. It also felt very stern sometimes, which was sort of a hard aspect for me. I'm sure I didn't experience as much sternness as you did, but as an
yeah.
adult, it was quite shocking, um, the way some teachers would talk to me. Uh, yeah, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so we met that summer,
Yeah.
um, and then
And then
stayed in
that,
touch because it
yeah,
wasn't
we
until
did.
December. I mean, this was June. It wasn't until December, New Year's, really, that I was like, "Hey, let's make an album." So we must have continued to stay in touch because then when
We
you came out to
did.
LA,
Yeah, I came to LA
we
in
met up.
October, and I think
Right.
that was I mean, yeah, we didn't know each other at all really at that point. But I was like, hey, I mean, I remember, well, you had come to my dad's house as a bunch of people did after summer solstice, and so we
That's
connected a
right.
little.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we had like a little bit of like a kirtan like chanting session in one of the bedrooms with a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
Um,
We
yeah,
did
I mean, and
sadhana.
I did we
Yeah.
in Espanola?
Yeah. At your dad's house the day, like when we slept there, we
Oh,
all
that's
did sadhana.
right. Yeah, I remember. I don't remember that as clearly. I remember like hanging out and we were all chanting Reki Rekanahar like in the afternoon one day, and I remember
Oh,
being really impressed by your
there's
voice.
probably a lot of singing going on. Yeah.
Yeah, there was. Oh, and we also, I mean, it's funny. Yeah, I mean, I don't know when I really realized like how much of a accomplished musician you were, but I remember we also sat across from each other during tantric, and I think you were sitting next to Guru Paul, who was my partner, and I remember hearing you singing during the meditations and thinking like, oh my god, that woman's voice is incredible.
Oh, that's funny. Was that the day that I bawled?
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay. That's what I remember about that tantric is I there was like me and there was a woman there who was a masseuse or like a healer and she wore white all the time anyway.
Of course.
But it was like her first solstice. She wasn't really into Kundalini yoga and she was diagonal from me and we both lost it like during
Mm,
we were just like and of course they say like they're like well it's the diagonal energy or whatever but I think it
right.
might have also just been that we had both broken up with our partners
Mm,
or the people that we had been with. um But yeah, that's what I remember from it. But anyway, yeah. So that's funny. Okay. And so then after October, I started singing with Michelle, who is now Paloma,
Yeah.
Davey, who toured with the Guru Ganesha band.
Right.
She's on a bit of a break from live stuff. She has two kiddos too.
Yeah,
Actually, all three
golly.
of us, me, Paloma, and Allison, we have two boys. Wait, no, we all
Oh,
have two kids. No, Paloma has a boy and a girl, I think.
all right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've continued to watch what Allison's been up to on the socials. It seems like she's
Yeah. I wanted her to
living.
come on the podcast too. She's like such a cool herbalist,
Yeah, no,
but she
she's
doesn't like
always.
video.
Hmm. I would have presented myself differently if I think I had fully
Oh.
appreciated that we were going to be on
I mean, I'm
video.
in my pajamas. I'm not getting
Yeah,
dressed up for this, but
it's fair enough. I mean, they're
I
presentable
should have
pajamas at
warned you.
least.
I forgot.
It's okay. It's all good. I'm fresh from the shower, so there's
Yeah.
I'm nice and clean.
Which is great because no one could smell you anyway.
God. Uh,
um, yeah. So yeah, so then after that, I do want to get to actually what you're doing now, but just to close on that. So
yeah,
after meeting in
October in LA.
October, then I decided to come to winter solstice because Michelle or Paloma and Allison had, it's so funny, everybody has a different name now. Because Allison sort of was always Allison, but she went as Padam Take for
a minute.
A minute, yeah.
Yeah, and Paloma's been Paloma for a while. Like she started using that name with the Guru Ganesha band, which is
Yeah. She was Jai Kartar when I knew her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jai Kartar and Padam Take.
Yeah.
Allison and Michelle Paloma Davy.
Which is, by the way, if anyone caught on, we recently changed like the album cover for our album, so it now lists 4 artists, which is
4 artists that are the 2 of us.
Yes, that are 2 people. Okay, but so we ended up going to winter solstice, and then because I came back to the East Coast because that's where my parents were living, and you were also in New York. We met up, and I think that's when. No, that was a different trip that Honeymooners came out. Yeah, because he wouldn't have. That would have been later.
Yeah.
But we did New Year's at your
Yogi East.
Oh, you weren't there for this actually, but I stayed with. Oh, I don't remember. I think his name was Fateh.
Yeah.
Fateh and Guru Nam also stayed the night. It was like me, Guru Nam, and Fateh. And we woke up the next morning and did a Kriya where I remember this vividly because it was so weird. It was a Kriya where Yogi Bhajan wanted us to just keep kissing. And I remember just being with these 2 dudes and it was so awkward. Not each other, but like.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, could this have been like a worse Kriya to do with?
I don't know. Fateh Fateh who lives in New York. I don't know what he's up to now, but he is an interesting force that seems to have affected a lot of things. He actually, him and my co-parent dated very briefly before her and I met, and I don't think they were together anymore when I met her, but she was still kind of hanging out with him, and she didn't know anybody else yet. Like she was still trying to like meet people in the community, and so because he had told her about it, or he invited her, they were both at Golden Bridge one of the first mornings that we played Sadhana right after the solstice where you and I met, actually. Oh, it's so interesting that to put that timeline together. So yeah, that solstice, you and I met for the first time. I released the Sadhana City album, went back to New York and did some sadhanas at Golden Bridge. and the future mother of my children and Fateh were at one of those sadhanas. And then he invited us all out to breakfast. It was me, Satjo, and I don't remember who else, and Jessica and Fateh. And he was like, he felt like it was his responsibility, or he had the right to like give me all this feedback and criticism about the Kirtan caravan, and particularly like the women that were singing on the album, and had all this criticism levied towards them. And Jessica was just listening to him, was like, what is this guy telling him all of this stuff for? Why does he feel like he has any right to say this stuff? And anyway, that's bizarre. It's one of the many bizarre encounters that one collects growing up in this community.
Okay, do you want to hear this was funny to me. We did a New Year's kirtan. Do you remember? Guru Nam was playing at Golden Bridge.
Yeah.
And I think we did like a cameo. We weren't really playing,
did we?
right?
I don't think we played.
I remember singing.
I remember. So there were 2 New Year's events that night. And we were featured, or we asked to be invited at Yogi East. And that was earlier in the night. So that one didn't actually go up to midnight at New Year's. So
and see, I don't remember that one at all. What did we do? We sang for a class?
I think he taught a New Year's class and we sang, and there's still video of that on my YouTube channel.
Really?
It's like you and me and my brother and I can't remember names on call. A bunch of us were on stage,
okay.
and Il was playing the cajon, and Dave Ottman was playing bass.
Oh wow, yeah. Who also played on the album?
Yes, yeah. Who played on? Yeah. Dave Ottman was amazing. So we did that event, and then
Terrence and Il also played on the album.
Yeah, too, yes, yeah, they did. Yeah, the whole band was there. The band that we didn't even know we were going to do an album with yet.
That's true.
I think you reached out to me shortly after you left from that trip about doing an album. I think at the time we were thinking about doing 2 albums and singing on each other's albums, and then we decided to just consolidate. But yeah, anyway, so after we were featured at Yogi East for that event, then we hoofed it over to Golden Bridge as quickly as we could on public transit, and then I did the sound for that, so I didn't play or sing, but Guru Nam wanted you to sing with him. So you sang for both. And I helped run the sound at Golden Bridge.
I thought I remembered that. Okay, but so this was my awkward moment. So the only thing that I remembered about that was how like intrusive the violin playing seemed to be to me. And I don't remember if it really was, or if I was in a bad mood or whatever it was, but I have this like, violinist really like, yeah. Okay, fast forward several years later, I'm interviewing Sangeeta, and I mentioned something about that gig and the violinist and my negative comments about it. This is why you should just be transparent about everything, by the way. And she's like, she was either like, that was my boyfriend, or it might be her husband now. But I was like, oh my gosh, why did it like this? This is why I need to not judge. I'm really working on it.
I mean, everything isn't for everyone. I think everyone's entitled to their opinion.
That's true. It's not personal. Yeah, it was definitely about me. But I just, anyway, that was like, what are the odds where you're like, and the that was my, like, what?
Well,
how did I do that?
This community is not that big, and everybody kind of knows everybody, and you're bound to run into those kinds of relationships from time to time. Yeah.
Well, so it's neat to see, I'm going to segue here. It's neat to see where everyone has kind of taken their journey, and you have like a whole new musical endeavor now that has, like, let's talk about that.
Okay. I mean, so, and I remember mentioning this to you casually before, but I mean, like, I don't know, like traditional rock and roll, or like roots American roots music has always been something that I've had a strong affinity to, and always try to sort of sneak into kirtan, sort of similar to how Guru Ganesh always has, the maybe slightly different influences.
Hmm.
I mean, but like honestly, I mean, from the time that I was a kid, like I've always I mean, it sounds so cliche, but I've always just wanted to be in a rock band. Like I've wanted to, and I wanted to. I mean, I wanted to learn how to play guitar so bad when I was a kid, and my parents had me in violin lessons, which I hated.
You
But
were like,
it
I want to
def-
play guitar, and they're like, play this very similar instrument that's called a violin.
I mean, I don't. It was a chicken rig thing. I mean, it was like the Suzuki violin method, so they had me in violin super young.
Hmm.
Anyway,
You play
but
violin?
I don't. I did like when I was 4.
Oh, okay.
God, I'd love to. I mean, I remember like I could play a few of the early Suzuki Method songs. Like I'd be interested to try to pick that up again. Um, and then yeah, and then years later, I got the opportunity to take lessons in piano, keyboard, and I started Suzuki Method again. So I was already familiar with that. And then I finally got to take like contemporary music oriented lessons from somebody who used to teach my mom at the College of Santa Fe, and he uh, incidentally like started the whole contemporary music program at that school, which used to be like a world renowned school for contemporary music. So that was always my sort of background and roots and interest. And then, I mean, I did also get to study Indian classical music in India, um, which is always I've always found to be really deep and fascinating. Um, but yeah, I mean, I like, and then got into the Kirtan thing, and at the time it just felt like an easy way to be a musician and to like be able to release an album and not have to like actually write songs, which I still struggle with. But I was like, I'll just sing these mantras and try to like sneak in some of the rock influence that I enjoy.
Which you did have to
And
write, right? You wrote the music for
yeah,
Seven
I wrote
City.
some melodies.
Yeah.
It's funny, I didn't write all those melodies, though I borrowed several of them. um I did write a few though. But yeah, and then we did our album, and then I met the mother of my children, and we moved to New Mexico, and I didn't really do a lot of music for the longest time, except for just playing. I continued to play sadhana like every so often, but and less often, and then I guess playing kirtan in the Sunday service in Gurdwara every once in a while. Um, but yeah, I mean, focused on being a parent and just kind of like trying to like provide for my kids. It just became less and less of a presence in my life, I suppose. But then after all the expletive hit the fan,
You
with
don't like, yeah, you don't like foul language. I learned
oh, I
that.
don't. Is that like a thing? I don't know. It's
I don't know. You had like a lot of emojis when what did I say? I made some mistake and I was like, fuck. And you like did some like ear thing. You're like, ah, my ears.
are you serious?
Emoji. Yeah. I was like, oh no.
Oh my God. I actually curse very often, but I try to be sensitive to context. But I mean, God, when I'm driving, like the amount of times that I will exclaim with my kids in the car, I probably should not even admit that.
My kids have just such, oh my God. Yeah. My youngest especially, I'm like, that's not, you're 7, dude. I can't do
Yeah.
this.
I mean,
Anyway, sorry.
both of my kids think it's hilarious, and like it's such a like who cares? I'm trying to like not let it have like the allure or the power that like
Yeah,
trying to make it taboo has.
right, right.
Like if you guys want to say that, you can say that. Just like learn when it's okay to say it and when it isn't.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel like my 10-year-old has a grasp on that because when he says it, I'm like, it's sort of funny. But my 7-year-old like says things that are so offensive without me, without like really understanding what they are. And I'm
That's
just like,
funny. I mean,
oh my God, I'm gonna get taken in if you say something like
I mean, this is such an interesting tangent, but my kids are the same. Like my son, like will say it say things sometimes to be funny, and only when he knows that he's not going to get in trouble. But my daughter, she knows that those things aren't okay, and when she's like feeling like, I mean, she will sometimes feel like she doesn't have the ability to communicate, or that people aren't listening to her, that she's not getting the attention she needs. And during this past summer, when she was at summer camp, like that was an especially acute challenge for her. And so she got written up several times for various different reasons for acting out. And I mean, and it was partially intentional, but it was partly like, I'm going to do something that I know is going to get people's attention because I'm not getting the attention that I need.
Right, which I mean makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man.
Anyway, where was I?
Where were we?
um
Oh, you were saying I used expletive. Oh man.
I mean, I was trying to catch up to the present with
Well, when the expletive hit the fan, you were talking about
oh yeah,
the Yogi
all the shit hit the
Bhajan
fan
stuff, yeah.
when
This
the
is
Yogi Bhajan stuff came out
This is an
when Pamela raised
explicit
her book.
podcast, by the way. Not because we use a ton of explicit language. I just don't want to edit it. So
yeah, I think
I
that's
let my
reasonable.
guests. I let my guests decide.
It's an adult podcast.
There you go.
Sounds so bad.
Which is why your background is all blurred.
It's just, this is my dungeon. I can't. Yeah, I mean, I have keyboards and Christmas trees, but the stuff that you can't make out, like, just leave it at that.
Right, just for adults.
Meanwhile, my kid has gotten up to go to the bathroom twice. We've started. Oh my gosh.
Okay, sorry. So when it all hit the fan.
Yeah, and then my marriage to my parents, or my kids.
Sorry, that was
my marriage to my kids' mother dissolved for various reasons. And then I took the opportunity to like not have those pressures of the community and my now co-parent of their like expectations of who I was and who I thought I was. I took the opportunity to like explore my gender, right? Like I've very relatively recently come out as trans feminine, non-binary, she they pronouns. But and yeah, so I started attending.
The way you did that. That was smooth. Yep. Sorry.
Thank you. So I mean, Jessica, my co-parent, who's always been a very supportive presence in my life, and even almost more so now that we've separated. She actually turned me on to some support groups that had been happening in New Mexico, TGRC based in Albuquerque, the Transgender Resource Center. And so I started attending a couple of different support groups, but the trans feminine one that was mostly people around our age in Albuquerque, were meeting every Tuesday on Zoom. And I think before the pandemic, they had only met in person and had switched exclusively to Zoom due to the pandemic. And they only advertised that they met twice a month, but they actually met every single Tuesday, which I thought was really cool. And then as pandemic restrictions started to...
Can I just ask about that? What does that mean?
Sure.
Like they wanted some of the meetings to be like for just existing members? It wasn't for new people, or?
No, there was not any restriction. Like if people attended the dates that were advertised, we immediately would tell them like, oh, we actually meet every Tuesday and you're welcome to attend. I think, I think it was just maybe at one point maybe before the pandemic, they did only meet every other Tuesday, but then they were like, it's only Zoom, so let's just meet every Tuesday. And they never updated the copy or whatever, the website.
Oh, okay. Yeah, whatever.
I think that's all it was.
Curious. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was like it wasn't anything intentional, I don't think. But anyway, so yeah, they finally started meeting in person again, and then when the in-person meetings did end up being 2 Tuesdays a month, and then all the other Tuesdays we would still meet on Zoom. And it was hard for me to make it to the in-person meetings because I think I was living in Espanola at the time. I can't remember. Although I think by the time the relevant part of the story comes up, I was actually living in Santa Fe. But even still, it's an hour drive, and it's a work and school night, so it's a challenge. But I just happened to attend a meeting where Nora had also attended, and she did a share. And I mean, she did a nice kind of what she was going through at the time. But then she said at the end of her share, like, I'm going to be honest, like, I'm just here looking for musicians.
But she's in Albuquerque or in Santa Fe?
She lives in Albuquerque.
Oh, I didn't realize. So your band is based in Albuquerque?
Yeah, everyone else lives in Albuquerque except me.
Oh.
But you're
Oh, sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
Giving away the goat. That's
oh
okay.
man, sorry.
I mean, whatever. It's like
that's where you actually are right now, right? No.
What, Albuquerque or what?
Yeah, no, I was kidding. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You're gonna reveal your background. It's gonna be Albuquerque.
No, my house is just
it's a Christmas tree in Albuquerque.
It's a Christmas miracle. I live in Albuquerque now. No, I mean, nothing glamorous. My house is just messy, so I can kind of get away with not maybe pretending that it's not. My house, yeah, I could. Yeah, and if I unblur it, it would become obvious that this is an Albuquerque apartment. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
like
man.
the architecture is so different. This is like so typical of the kinds of things that you and I will laugh at that I'm not sure that your audience will find funny, but that's okay. Oh my god.
Oh man. I don't know. I think it's sometimes funny to see people laugh.
Oh, absolutely. That's something that's just like, what? That's not okay.
I was also just thinking about how little we actually were able to get done sometimes because of how funny everything was. Anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
No, we definitely got along really well for the most.
Except when we didn't.
Except when we didn't, and that's okay. I mean, I think a musical collaboration is just inherently a very intimate relationship, and that comes with inherent drama.
Yeah. Okay, I interrupted your story again, but okay. So you met Nora. She said she was looking for bandmates. That was
and
then I'm not supposed to know that she's in Albuquerque, so we will withdraw that from the record.
No, the fact that she lives in Albuquerque is not a. You're not supposed to know that Nora is like the person who put the band together.
Oh, sorry, right? Because I have the information. Okay, sorry. That's what you meant. Okay. I didn't even get what we were laughing at.
That's so funny. Yeah, I mean, the fact that I don't live in Albuquerque is like whatever. But no, yeah, Nora's a very relevant person because she was trying to put a band together. And yeah, I mean, and I definitely I mean, even before I heard her say that, I thought that just the way that she was able to sort of claim her version of femininity, which was very much on her terms, and it was very I mean, she just looked like a rock star. I don't know how else to put it. And then she said, "I'm looking for musicians." Like, oh my god, this is somebody I really want to know. And so I approached her afterward, and I was wearing. I mean, I'm obsessed with leather jackets, and I was wearing the one that I owned at the time that I was very proud of, my red leather jacket, and so she was talking to some other people after the meeting during like social time, and I approached, and she just like stopped talking to the people that she was talking to, and she's like, "Where did you get that jacket? That is such a good." So we definitely made an impression on each other before we even like started talking, and so we exchanged information and just started getting together casually. to just sort of see if like our musical interests and style melded or not. And we definitely enjoyed those first few sort of jam sessions. And this was like exactly a year ago now. This is or not quite exactly. Almost. This was October of last year, 2022. And and then yeah, she was still. I mean, she really wanted like just like the core, like bare bones pieces of a rock band. So she needed at minimum, like she plays guitar, so she needed a bass player and a drummer, and then she found a keyboardist. So we still weren't really any closer to putting together a full band. um but she works in the film industry in locations mostly, and she knows a lot of people in that industry. And two of her acquaintances that I think she also connected with, because they're also just queer people in the film industry, two cis lesbian women. I think, I'm not sure how it came out eventually that they were also musicians, but Hannah, who's an incredible singer, and loves to sing karaoke, incidentally.
I'm feeling like a real snob.
It's okay. I won't
Try
judge
it
you for
again.
being a snob. Come to New Mexico and sing karaoke with the band. um but then yeah, and then Jen told me like her part of the story. Like, I mean, I think Jen was also a musician, and during COVID, like when films weren't really being produced, Jen lent Nora her electric guitar so that Nora could kind of practice. And I don't think Nora knew that Jen actually had been a drummer. Um, but they were getting, I think they were getting to be closer friends at that time. And I think Nora was just like talking to Jen about like, I really need to find like what I really want. I mean, and then Jen told me the story, like her recounting what Nora said to her, like what Nora said, what I really love to find is like a badass lesbian drummer. and and
And lo and
and
behold.
well, right, and then that was like a conversation that they had, and then Jen like texted her this whole long thing, like I think I'll do it. Like, I'm sort of, I haven't played drums in years, but like this is something I really want to do, and I think like this is like this just feels really right. Um, and Jen's actually from New York. Like she lived there, I think, before my time there, but she had been a drummer, I think, in some punk bands like ages ago. But but yeah, so in the span of like 2 weeks from when like Nora and I had practiced a couple of times, and then we kind of didn't communicate for a couple of weeks, and then like all of a sudden she had a band. And well, and then Jen had a really old friend. They used to work at Home Depot together like 10 years ago, and they had always gone to concerts together and just like bonded over their love of music. And he plays bass, Mark, and so Jen kind of brought Mark into the fold. Um, and so it was just me and Nora sort of practicing together for like a lot of October, and then like early November, all five of us started practicing together. Um, and I mean, I think we're all sort of just seeing how it felt and seeing if this was going to turn into something or not. But we most of the material is Nora's that we play, but Hannah wrote a couple of really kick-ass songs, and then Jen also wrote this beautiful sort of like, I mean, I definitely, the song that Jen wrote, definitely sounds like sort of an Appalachian like ballad, like kind of a, I don't know, like, I mean, the first band that came to mind when I heard it was First Aid Kit, if you're familiar. Oh, you should check them out. I think you would really like them. They're definitely kind of like folk.
Okay.
Uh, and it's interesting. They're from somewhere in Scandinavia, but they definitely have this like very Americana like bluegrass folk like Appalachia vibe.
Super
But
cool.
then yeah, but then it turned into this like electric ballad, like because we're not an acoustic band by any any measure, and then so Nora just plays this like really like etheric soaring electric guitar in the background of the song that Jen wrote, and and then me and Mark just play like really subtle like sustaining notes on bass and keyboard, and it's just this beautiful song. um yeah, so we all kind of have our own flavor that we bring. And the word soup comes up a lot. We have a really delicious soup that
The
we
word
present.
soup comes up.
The-
Oh, soup,
yeah,
not as in like
soup.
you make a great soup, but
No, we make it.
yeah.
The kitchery that we eat is incredible.
Well, for some reason that seemed legit because you like wanted, remember every time we did a concert, you'd want to bake cookies. So
Oh, that's right. I
yeah,
I took that from Ann Novak. That was
yeah,
something that she always did, which I thought was super cool.
yeah. So I just, I don't know. I thought maybe
Oh
you still bring food to your concerts.
no, but Mark does, the bass player. Like he brought cornbread and like a stew to one of our concerts,
There you
which was
go.
like random but also kind of awesome. Like,
Like for the whole
he,
audience or for,
yeah, yeah,
oh
for the
wow,
whole
that's
audience.
cool.
He brought like a big old plate of cornbread and like a crock pot full of like some sort of beans, like chili or something, or stew.
That's awesome.
And this wasn't even just our concert. Like this was like a mini like Pride music festival that Nora had organized.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah,
Do you find that because you're mostly queer, completely queer band?
everybody except Mark.
Yeah, queer except for Mark.
But Mark actually likes the term queer. Like I mean, I think he still identifies as like a cis straight male for the most part, but still feels like he's a queer. He's a queer person anyway.
Yeah. Oh,
But
well, what
yes,
was my point about that? Oh,
yeah,
do
we're
you feel like in some ways is it similar to being part of like the community of like yoga community where you have, because you were talking about the Pride Festival, so I was just thinking like, oh, does that kind of open up doors to events that are themed that way or that are put on by
mm,
people in the community, or
I
is there
mean
like
it
kind of a close knit thing or not really?
a little bit. I mean, I do think a lot of people respond to us, or that helps people respond to us more. Just that, um, and I mean, in all of us except for Mark are femmes. I mean, and so it's kind of like an all lady band except for Mark, um, which I think a lot of even like cis women really appreciate as well. But
Hmm.
no, but we haven't
Especially
we
when the
haven't.
drummer's a woman, that's always cool.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that just like so badass to have a woman
Yeah,
drummer? I think that's incredible.
yeah. That's
And
why I
you
love Jason Mraz too. He has a
right
all
on.
female band.
Oh, that's what's up. I mean, one of my more recent favorites, Samantha Fish, was touring with a female drummer. Um,
Yeah, you were telling me that.
yeah, oh man, I'm really having struggling with names tonight. Sarah, I think her name is.
I don't know a lot
Uh,
of good drummer names, but
no, I mean she's not somebody that you would just know, but I started following her even after she stopped playing with Samantha Fish because I just thought she was incredible and
hmm.
just a badass drummer and somebody that I'd like to continue to be inspired by. And
Hmm.
she's playing with a band called, oh my god, you could put it in the show notes. Anyway, yeah,
I'll
yeah,
think of
badass
it
female
later.
drummers, and but yeah, but Jen is an incredible drummer. Like, yeah, just a really, really, really solid, like expressive drummer that we're lucky to have for sure. Yeah, and our band is called Firebird FM. Check us out on all the socials.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh my gosh, we've been talking for a while. Do you have to go? Because I could honestly, I mean, we obviously can talk for an unlimited amount of time, but we could wrap up if you need to.
I don't need to. Maybe we could kind of move in that direction.
Okay, let's say in the next 15 minutes. Does
Yeah,
that work? Okay.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that definitely brings me up to present. But I never answered your question. I mean,
What was it?
that's like have we has
Oh, about the
being like an all
community.
queer band. Yeah. Um, I don't I wouldn't say that it has really, other than just like how people respond to us.
Mm,
And we're still pretty new to the scene, I suppose. So I'm hoping that in the future it will be more of a like a household name locally at least, or be more known as like a queer band that would be good
mm,
to book for like Pride events. But Nora I mean, Nora took it upon herself to organize our own Pride event, and we got a bunch of other great queer bands to play for that as well. And that was, I mean, that was incredible. She was talking about doing that like every month or every couple of months, and not
Hmm.
only doing it in June. But we haven't done a second one yet, just because we've all been really busy. But I do think that's something that will become a regular thing. Um, yeah, I mean, I
So, I mean, when you
yeah, go
said
ahead.
we played for the, like she made that. That wasn't a
Hmm.
come play for us. That was like a,
Right. That was
yeah,
like, this is our event. We'll headline and then
yeah,
come play with us.
love it. So she's also a great event planner.
She is. I mean, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's incredible to be working with creative people who are like crew people.
Mm,
And I have a similar background. Like I mean, you have like sort of the stereotypical musician who is a great musician but isn't good at like business or promoting themselves or like yeah, planning events, all these kinds of things. But these are the sorts of things that everybody in the band is really good at.
mm,
Um, I mean, and myself included. Like I've definitely had more than my fair share of things on the production side, like uh doing sound for countless tours over the years and um interning at the recording studio and trying to yeah, I mean my initial intention or goal was to get into music from the production side of things more than being an artist. And so and I mean if you're going to get into film and you don't want to be like an actor, that's kind of what you're doing. You're going to get into some sort of type of production as well.
yeah.
um
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
and then she
I forgot about that about you. Yeah, because you were like touring with Jai Jagdish and Mirabai Seba.
yeah,
Who,
I toured with
like,
I mean, I think Guru Ganesha was touring a lot before that, but he did that one last big tour with the Guru Ganesha band and Paloma
with
Devi.
David Pramal.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
so
I
you
was,
went for that too, right?
yeah,
You
I
went,
was
yeah.
basically I was a roadie for that tour because they had higher caliber sound engineers, but they needed people who knew their way around equipment and staging and all of that to come help, and I was happy to do it. And I mean, that was quite the experience in of itself.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah. Okay. So much. So many, so many things. So
Yeah.
and y'all just recorded, so we'll close out, but you just recorded an album and you did it in
Yeah,
a
we
really
did.
cool way. Do you want to talk about that? Because I'd never,
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, this is a great story too, and I'll try to keep it brief. But
Oh, it's
I
for
mean, yeah,
you. It's not for me.
sure. Um, awesome. So, I mean, so yeah, I'm used to recording in the way that I think you are as well, where you kind of, I mean, whether or not you come into the project process of making an album with like specific arrangements in mind or not, like I'm very used to doing it sort of uh like overdubbing everything, if that's the right word. Like you get your structure, like you get the rhythm section down and record as few instruments at a time as possible to maintain ultimate control, right? So
Hmm.
you'll get like your rhythm section on a click track, and then you'll record and maybe vocals one person at a time, maybe vocals together, whatever, and just kind of put it together piece by piece as you go. And then it's kind of like this thing that you're crafting slowly, and you can add little elements here and there, like, oh, this would be a great place for like a little solo. And honestly, like a lot of the stuff that I've recorded, I would just like have people one at a time play.
Yeah.
um
Well, when we did it, we just like went to people. We were like,
yeah,
what's that called? Like when you um
a duet.
no, I meant like when like field recordings. You like, yeah.
Oh yeah, we'd like go to people's houses. Like we
Yeah.
went to Vibhuti's house and had her record all her vocal parts, and then she did some percussion as well. And then, I mean, Terrence and Hadiatma, who played hand drum and bass respectively, they always wanted to record together,
Oh,
and
that's
we
who
would
we were
use
thinking of, not Dave Atma, Hariyama.
Hadiatma.
Yeah.
Oh, Dave Alma, yeah. Hari
Yeah.
Alma.
Okay, that's
That's
so funny
funny.
because when you said it, I was like, I don't remember his name being the same as my other friend. That's so funny. But okay, yeah. So it was
Yeah, no,
Hariyama.
it's
Yeah.
Hari Alma, yeah.
Bass player, music
Bass
legend.
player. Yes. And Sod in the City, incidentally.
And some.
Yeah. What time is it? It's late. I think you should just turn that off and go to bed, buddy.
Start again. Yeah. No, that used to happen to me. Now my children know if the door's closed to not come in unless someone is in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I don't have as many rooms to do that as easily in
Oh, but
my
yeah, but this is something I do all the time. So it's
no,
like,
totally.
it's what your kids get used to.
Yeah, absolutely. So so yeah, instead of um doing it that way, Nora really wanted us to just record it all together, and that would be more or less the final product, like just record live without even a click track. I mean, I don't know, I guess you could record live with a click track, but it'd have to be really loud. And she wanted sort of the human aspect of like time fluctuations anyway. And I was skeptical about that, but I was open to it. And we were kind of thinking about us doing it DIY, like we had just like recording it ourselves at people's houses, which would be really hard to do if we were going to try to do it all at the same time.
Mm,
But then maybe hire like an engineer to mix it.
mm.
Um, but then, I mean, her and I were both up late one night, just sort of separately, uh, and I was kind of looking at some of the studios here in Santa Fe that I've always thought were really cool, and there's a couple, but there's one in particular called Frogville that my piano teacher that I've taken lessons with since I was a teenager had always raved about, and he like goes over there and helps them fix all their old like all the old keyboards that they have. But I saw that they offered a thing where you could come and like do a concert there, and then they would record it. Um,
Which is so cool. That is not something I'd ever heard of before you
yeah,
told me that
and they
existed. I mean, I've heard of people recording their concerts, but not like a studio that actually provided that service.
yeah, and so I was like, oh god, that's like exactly the kind of thing that Nora was thinking of that we should do, and if the studio can like host that, that would be kind of perfect. So I texted her a link to the page that said that they did that, and I kid you not, at the exact same moment, she texted me a YouTube video about how Rage Against the Machine recorded their first album, and that's how they did it. They booked a
Hmm.
professional recording studio, but they brought in an audience, and they just felt like they needed to do this live with that energy, and they couldn't like the way that they did their music, they had to that it was that way or bust.
Hmm.
And so we were both kind of definitely on the same wavelength at the exact same moment. Um, and so that felt very, very serendipitous that
Yeah.
happened. And then I mean then it turned out that like Frogville wasn't doing that as much. Like mostly they were hosting concerts, and then they would the artists or the musicians would produce the concerts, and so then the musicians would be or the band would be in charge of selling tickets, and then Frogville would get a cut, and then it just ended up not being a very lucrative thing for them under that model. And I was like, oh no, like I want to book the studio to record an album, and I'll pay you whatever the rate is to book the studio is, but then like we want to invite people to come and still have that live energy. And so with that model, they were more than happy to accommodate us.
Do
um
they sit in the control room and their speakers, or like how does that work? Do they all wear headphones?
so we didn't end up having that many people come, but we still had like maybe 7 people at different times. And so what we ended up doing is there was a little sort of a sofa area in in the corner of the big live room where the drums and really all of us were. And so they set up a little tiny PA with one speaker for everybody to sit in the room with us.
Hmm. So the speaker was actually playing while you were playing, just
Yeah,
not in the
but
same direction. Oh, wow.
yes, yeah, it was pointed away from us. We kept it at super low volume. Really, it was just mostly for the vocals because you with the drums and everything else
Right.
that
You
was
can hear
loud, you
everything.
couldn't hear the drums. But they had 2 separate live rooms but they were able to put the guitar amp in one and the bass amp in one. And so and that way we're able to keep the volume in the main room pretty low. And there was definitely some bleed on the mics, but but he was able to help us keep that really minimal on the vocal mics. And we used SM58s like stage mics instead of like high-end studio mics, which are also not nearly as sensitive, and so those help to sort of isolate the vocals more.
I'm
But
just
yeah, I
going
mean,
to explain something you said, because when I'm listening to podcasts and they're talking shop and it's not my language, I always wish people explain. But bleed is when, so like if two people are singing into separate mics, the bleed is where you're not just hearing the one person in the one mic, you're hearing the other person, which isn't ideal because you want to be able to mix the vocals separately, which is why people tend to record things separately to keep things individualized, but it has the downside of not being the same energy because you're not all playing together.
Yeah,
So
and
these are the types of things people weigh as they're deciding. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean the other downside to trying to record everybody at this exact same time is that if one person has a really good take and somebody else doesn't, you're kind of, especially if it's not on a click track, which we weren't, like we didn't really have the luxury of being like, oh, I really liked that fill or that solo that you did on that take, like can we just pull it over into this take? Like because we weren't on a click track, it wasn't really possible to do that, so we just had to like essentially we had to just pick like which take of everybody together playing the song together was the best, and that's what we did. So we did each song like 4 or 5 times over the course of a day. I mean, I think we went through it all twice. Like we went through all 5 songs once in the morning, took a long break, and then I think we did it again in the afternoon into the evening. And but I mean, we started at like, well, I mean, we all arrived around 10 in the morning, and it took a couple hours just to get everything set up, and then we started probably around noon ish. And then took lots of breaks, took one really long break in the middle of the day, and then by 8 or 9 o'clock we were all like done, very much like I don't have another performance in me. And then me and Nora came back the next day, and we didn't start till 11 the next day. We all came back the next day, and we did a couple of replacements. Mostly, Nora replaced a couple of guitar parts. I replaced a couple of keyboard parts. So we first listened to everything and decided which one was the best performance of us all as a whole to work with. And then at that point, like, is there stuff that we need to go in and fix? And there's definitely some stuff that me and Nora mostly were able to kind of go in and redo, just listening to that particular take in real time over headphones and just doing our part again. But for the most part, like everything that you'll hear was live. And so yeah, and then once we finished kind of those fixing parts, Nora and I stayed the rest of that day and did a first round of mixing with our engineer Jason. And then we took like a month to sort of listen and relax and just sort of sit with it. And then Nora and I went back for one more day and did some final adjustments. And now currently the album is being mastered, and I'm not sure how long that is going to take. I think we're shooting for a late October release though.
Nice. That's exciting. That's a really cool schedule that you were on. I've never done anything that quickly. That's really cool.
I haven't either. I mean, I thought the 2 albums that I did, Sun and City and the one that we did together were quick. But this was like nothing. I mean, that made those seem like they took forever.
Yeah, I know. This album I've been working on with Ram Dass, we started in September of last year. So we're, I don't know. Like, I mean, whatever, everything has its timeline, but it's that's so cool. Is the FM in Firebird FM a double entendre?
I think it's just to be like a radio theme. Like you're picking up the cool. What is the term that Nora uses, or what's the language she uses? Like the the anyways, picking up the rock vibes of Firebird FM. You've tuned into Firebird FM, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe because when you said it this time, which I'd never pieced together, it's like, oh, that sounds like them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that was intentional,
Oh,
but it could be, and yeah, I'd be curious to think. I'd be curious to hear what Nora's opinion on that is, because it's not hasn't come up.
hmm. Yeah.
It's
Well,
it's
it's
definitely more of like
cool
a
regardless.
vintage, for sure. I agree, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely more of definitely sort of leaning on traditional American radio and um especially from like this. I mean, Nora's influence is definitely primarily like 80s rock and pop. And I would say, I mean, my personal influence is a little earlier, like late 60s and early 70s. But I mean, I don't know, we are all inspired by all genres and eras of music. I mean, definitely like Nirvana is a one that we all revere highly. We actually got to go see the Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh yeah, you
Um,
said. Did you like it?
that was great. That was a really, really fun experience. I mean, and I took a picture of all of us hanging out on the lawn. Like we just had lawn seats more towards the back, and I posted it on Instagram immediately. And then one of the other Albuquerque bands that we're really close with, Carlina, or her name is Carlina, but her band is called the Carlina Band. She responded like, "Where are you guys?" And I didn't see her reply, but then she just showed up and she found us. And then two members of another band that Nora's really close with, and they've come to so many of our concerts. They're just like huge support of us. They also just happened to be there, and we didn't. I don't think we knew that they were going to be there either. And so us and like members of two other bands got to hang out and just kind of enjoy this concert all together. It was great.
Oh, nice.
Definitely a really awesome group experience.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know much of the Smashing Pumpkins, but are they still recording or was it mainly like older stuff?
it was mostly older stuff,
Yeah.
and I mean they're they're definitely more of the era of like Nirvana and just a little bit earlier in the 90s that I think we're a little bit young for, but I remember,
Hmm.
I mean, I was in seventh grade, I think, when they were in their heyday. I mean, we both would have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I remember hearing their music a lot and really enjoying it, and just being really moved by it. But that was a period in my life when I just wasn't, I didn't know how to learn about music. Like that, we didn't have the internet. I was very socially awkward.
Right.
Um, and so yeah, I didn't know at the time. It took a lot of work to like really learn about different artists and and
Yeah.
money. Like you had to go out and buy
You had to
CDs
buy
if you
it.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The amount of access, when I think about the amount of access of music that we had and compared to what you have now, it's unfathomable. I don't even
Yeah.
think people could understand, you know.
No, it's, I mean, people who didn't grow up in that way. I mean, yeah, we were definitely the last generation that has a memory of experiencing media in that way.
Right? The Great Depression of media.
No, I mean, that period has its pros and cons. I mean,
Yeah. I
so
mean, you
much of
appreciated what you had. Like you felt, I think you had a lot more ownership over what you probably listened to, maybe,
exactly,
because it
yeah, and there
was
was,
all
and
you
all of the,
had.
for sure, and like there were just like all the bands that were popular at the time were just such cultural icons, and it doesn't seem like it was very corporate or like just like packaged or whatever. It was
I
like
think
it
it
seems.
still was, but it's reached definitely new levels.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there were different levels, but like I don't know. I mean, I keep coming back to Nirvana, but but like Kurt Cobain, like he would not do what anybody told him. Like there's a like this famous thing that happened where they played for a talk show or something, and the rules for that talk show were that they had to play with backing tracks and just sort of play along, and I think they were allowed. I think their mics were, yeah. So the vocal mics were going to be on, so it was going to be live vocals, but then all the instrumentation was going to be backing tracks, and they were just going to mime it. And
Lame.
yeah, and Kurt Cobain threw a fit, and the whole band did. Like they just
That seems like pretty poor management, though. It's like, oh, and by the way, you know all those songs that you rehearsed? You're going to be pretending to play them. Like, really? They
so.
just told them that when they arrived?
I mean, you and anybody should look up this video because it's easy to find on YouTube. But like, they're just like being ridiculous. Like they're just like playing the most exaggerated, like not like every fifth chord that you hear they're playing, and then they're just singing. So they're the mics are on, like they're supposed to actually sing the lyrics, and they're just singing. And like either like this ridiculous falsetto or like a super low, like 2 octaves below what it's actually supposed to be. It was just like not like refusing to even try to come close to taking it seriously.
Oh my
like
gosh.
I mean that was the and yeah.
Oh, I need to look that video up. Okay,
Yeah,
I will.
definitely it
That
was
sounds
nonsense.
hilarious. That sounds
Yeah, so that
hilarious.
I mean yeah, I mean I feel like that's a generation of music that I came up on, or that's like the genre or whatever. And yeah, and then like punk rock before that, just sort of the like screw the man, fuck the machine. We're gonna do what we want to do, and like you can't control us. Like we're here. We're ourselves. We're not gonna play by your rules. Um, I don't know. I've been sort of rediscovering not just punk rock music, but like the themes behind it too. Like, and the term of or like the concept of anarchy is what isn't one that I ever really understood or appreciated, and it
Hmm.
wasn't something that I felt like I would be interested in. But I've met a lot of people who are, or if they were to pick a political ideology, that would be the one that they would ascribe to themselves. And it's not like what I always thought it was like lack of
Chaos.
any or yeah, chaos. Like
Yeah.
no organization, no
Well, that's how the
cooperation.
word is used, not in a political way, but oh, this is just anarchy. It's chaos.
Right,
It's sort of
exactly.
like the
Yeah.
way that's like a lot of things. It's like home birth is portrayed in movies or like,
Mm,
I mean, there's a lot of misconstrued notions. But anyway, yeah. Keep.
no, absolutely, for sure. And it's, I mean, it's just a lack of of any kind of centralized official organization, and it's just people
Mm,
cooperating for the sake of cooperation without rules.
right,
And so
right.
there's
Yeah.
um and so I mean, in
It's
order for it to
community
work,
based too, right?
yeah,
It's like,
absolutely. Yeah, it's
yeah.
very community based, and it's community based without having to like ascribe to any set of laws or rules, and just understanding that people have different needs, and being and learning how to be sensitive to that, but not necessarily feeling like you have to like create explicit laws to account for every single
Mhm.
um like fringe occurrence of something. And just and I mean, I don't know, it's interesting. It definitely feels like it will require a very high level of evolved human to be functional, which is why I still have my skepticism.
Mhm.
But anyway, interesting to kind of see a lot of these things that maybe I was interested in the music that came out of it, but not necessarily understanding like the a lot of the actual themes behind it that they were championing.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow, that is a profound note to conclude on, I think.
That sounds good.
Do you want to tell people how they can find your music and what you're doing now?
Yeah. So if you search Firebird FM on really any of the social media platforms except YouTube, although I do think we should look into having a YouTube presence. But yeah,
I
we're on TikTok.
concur.
YouTube is a good place. I mean, I don't know. I enjoy YouTube a lot personally. Anyway, so TikTok.
Oh, is it like a negative feeling about YouTube? Is that why?
No, I don't. I mean, not at all. I just don't think that the content that we have been able to put together YouTube isn't the platform for it yet. Like YouTube is more long form video content,
Gotcha. Yeah.
which isn't something that we like. Like if we had a music video, YouTube would be the place for it.
Right.
But yeah, we're on TikTok,
Well, you
we're on
can do their
Instagram.
shorts. Like anything you put on TikTok, you could do in a YouTube short.
Sure, but then just put it on TikTok. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nora's
Well,
really
who-
trying to break into TikTok.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
and
probably
then
smart. I don't know much about
yeah,
TikTok.
for sure. And I'm still trying to get my head around it as well. But it does seem like Instagram is where most of what we do happens as far as posting. So definitely find us on Instagram.
Yeah.
But I think I do think we're gonna slowly have more of a presence on TikTok. And honestly, I mean, not to go off on another tangent, but like TikTok is a great place to promote music. And once you have music that's on streaming services, you can really easy create videos with your own music as the background on TikTok. And I mean, a lot of recent like indie artists, especially in the generation younger than us, have like Lil Nas X actually. Lil Nas X came up on TikTok, and anyway, so but yeah, and Facebook as well.
Cool. Well, sweet. I will link those in the show notes so that people can find you. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye.
Okay, wait, before you go, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you listen to it on YouTube, you can just leave a comment there. Make sure to subscribe. This really, really helps the algorithm know that you are enjoying it and allows other people to find us. So we thank you, and we'll see you in the next episode.